Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Get Busy with Bradley Zink. I'm San Diego children's book author Bradley Zink. Thank you all for tuning in today. Um, Today's episode is going to be a continuation of what I spoke about last week of the several different book projects that I've been working on. One of them, as I had mentioned last week, is my History of the Corvette book that I'm going to try to do a representation of each of the 70 years of the illustrious Corvette and the brief history of it, and history of each of the different series from C1s to the C8s. But anyway, before we get too far into today's episode, let me first reach out and thank today's sponsor, the Ronnie Lee Group. The sound bit that you heard at the beginning of the podcast is from their latest single, Prisoner. Thank you, Ronnie Lee Group, for all you do in entertaining us and for being the sponsor of today's show. So to get back, there she is right there. And they're currently on tour right now. If you're in New York or New Jersey over the next 4 or 5 days, they'll be touring along the eastern seaboard there in New York and New Jersey, and then headed back to Vegas at the end of the month, and then up to Washington the 1st of August. So if you're in any of those states, feel free to go out there and see my girl Ronnie. She's amazing to watch live and to listen to her music online. So anyway, to get back to today's episode, as I discussed last week, of how you can become an online publisher, how you can publish your books online for free. I mentioned how I'm working on 4 different book projects simultaneously, one of them being the History of the Corvette. How I came up with this idea. Last October, my wife and I purchased a gorgeous little 1985, sorry. If Joe, if you could put Vet Pick 1 up on the screen for us. Last October, we purchased a 1985 C4 Corvette from one of our neighbors that was moving out of state. There it is. Gorgeous bright red hatch pops open. As you can see currently on that photo, the clear roof has been removed, which makes it kind of like a convertible, but doesn't have all the wind that a convertible does. But anyway, that Corvette's been just an amazing car to own. We got it for a great price, put some money into it, put in a new transmission and radiator because, it is almost 40 years old now. But it's just an awesome car to drive. We drive it as our daily driver. Just this past weekend, we drove, oh my goodness, 150-mile day trip just around North County. This is actually on the West Lilac Bridge over the I-15 here in North County, just before you get to Fallbrook. You can go ahead and drop the picture now, Joe. Anyway, owning this car, it's not like any other car. As you're driving it, not only do you get a lot of looks and compliments and everything, but fellow Corvette owners, as they drive by, they all wave or they flip their lights on. Mine's got the roll up lights, so I'll see another Corvette and pull the lights open and salute them and everything. It's an amazing community of Corvette owners. They're a different breed altogether. So in knowing that it was going to be difficult to get a picture of each of the 70 years of the Corvette, starting with the 1953, where they only built 300 in that first that inaugural year, it'd be very difficult to get some of these photos of some of these these classics and some of these older cars. So I, simply just joined one Facebook group for each of the different generations of Corvette, C1 through C8, and just put a post up there that, hey, I'm, a children's book author in San Diego writing a book about the history of the Corvette. If you have this particular generation Corvette, either, email me a pic. If it gets selected for the book, I'll send you a free digital copy. If you the lucky recipient of getting the cover photo for the book, I'll send you a free signed hardcover copy of the book once I publish it. Hoping that I'd publish it, it would go live. I was anticipating mid-August at the time. This was 5 days ago, by the way. So after doing just those 8 posts, flood of emails and Facebook posts have come in, needless to say. In just that 5 days now, I have over 500 submissions, both online via Facebook, uh, via Messenger. My email inbox is just absurdly full. Here, Joe, if you could bring up a submission one photo for me, just to give you guys an idea of some of these awesome photos of cars that I'm getting sent. Some of them have been, featured in magazines globally. Some of them are show winners. Um, the, the first couple right there in the upper left-hand corner is actually in the 1953, one of only 300 ever produced. Okay, Joe, if you could do up submission two. And so I reached out to all these different, generation Corvette owners, and like I said, the pictures have been just flooding my inbox, and it's been amazing. If you could go ahead and show submission three photo there, Joe. Um, I've been, getting maybe 2, 3 hours sleep a day because I'm just trying to keep up with it. I mean, every 10 minutes, I'm getting, 15, 20 more notifications of, oh, you got, email, you've got, so-and-so's commented on your post. And it's just been absolutely phenomenal. Just, there's an example here in this screenshot. The two in the upper right-hand corner is the first Corvette Indianapolis 500 pace car from 1978. 70s Stingrays were just an awesome body style, really unique and ahead of its time. Very reminiscent of the Opel cars of Australia, I feel, but just gorgeous. And it was actually the yellow one there that you see, the 1978. That was just like the first Corvette I ever drove in high school, and it was the first and only car I've ever. You can go ahead and drop the photo now, Joe. It was the first and only car I'd ever driven, up until last year. That when you get in that car, it just surrounds you and fits you like a glove, and it's just an amazing feel to own a Corvette and to be a Corvette owner and be part of this amazing community. And like I said, I've had over 500 photo submissions in the first 5 days alone. Here, Joe, if you could throw up the vet book JPEG for me so everyone could see what I've been working on. So it was originally going to be just this, this one book featuring, no, not that one, the vet book, it says. It's just going to be the one book featuring, on the cover there, the front cover is the 1953 Corvette in pearl white, and the back cover there is the 2023 convertible, also in white. That's 70 years, and you can see how drastically they've changed, but still have that just awesome, unique look to them that just draws people's attention as you drive them. Because I had such an overwhelming response from the Corvette community. And I've got all, but I think I only need 7 more years covered of the Corvette there. I couldn't see, some of these, years I'm getting 10, 15 submissions a piece for, and all of them are just gorgeous. So I couldn't just leave all those people with nothing. So Joe, if you could put up the other one, the Love Is book JPEG. So seeing all these different Corvettes and seeing the response and the love in the Corvette community, both online and as I'm driving around, it spawned a second book that I'm also going to work on in tangent. Love Is My Corvette, featuring Corvettes from around the world. Like I said, I've had Australia, Denmark, Canada, Mexico, 28 different states. I want to say there was another European country. Oh, England, just actually the IKTA a European kickboxing champion, submitted his early this morning to me for one of the books from England there. So you can go ahead and drop the picture now, Joe. So like I said, the response was amazing. So I'm going to do 2 books, and I'm going to try to feature literally every one of those photos that have been submitted to me to date, covering the 70 years of the Corvette. So there'll be 2 different books. And at this rate, I'm hoping by the 1st of, the 19th of July, hopefully by the 1st of August, the history of the Corvette book will come out. And then a week later, I'll follow it up with the Love Is My Corvette, Corvettes featured from around the world. It's been an amazing, just 5-day process of reaching out. I've also reached out to try to get, there's still a few that are going to be next to impossible, and one of them is is truly the holy grail of the Corvette. Um, for those of you that don't know much about the Corvette, there was one year that they did not publicly release a Corvette, and that was 1983. That was at the end of the C3 series, just as they were going into the C4 series. Um, they did build 43 1983 Corvettes for testing purposes, to rig the lines for the fabrication of the parts and assembly line and what have you. But due to continual setbacks in production, they decided to just release it as the 1984. So when they build these test Corvettes or test cars, if you will, for all the different procedures that they do pre-production, after they're done, they destroy the cars. They destroyed 42 of those 43. So there's one 1983 Corvette in existence in the world, and it's at where it should be, the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I've reached out to them, hoping that not only can they submit some of their prototypes, they also have some unique one-of-a-kind prototypes from all different generations. Some of the race car generations, like the C4, C5, C6 race cars that they had. If I could get that 1983, though, that would truly be like just the crown jewel and the icing on the cake of the first book, The History of the Corvette, because it truly wouldn't be complete without every single one of the 70 years represented in it. So knock on wood, I hope that they get back to me soon, and hopefully I can get a submission of the 1983 Corvette to fill in that book and complete it. Like I said, to date, after the 500 plus submissions, I've gotten 63 of the 69 publicly released years covered. I only have 6 more years that I need covered. I'll post in comments later on those 6 years that I'm still out there searching for. If you happen to have one or know someone who has one, that'd be great to forward it to them. I'd love to have it included in one of my books. What another thing that this brings me to is in book publishing and in writing your own book, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. One of them is doing your research. That's one of the things in the first dozen episodes of Get Busy with Bradley Zink, for my governor campaign that I had and my political podcast for the first half of the year. I continually, drove home the point to people to do your research, and writing a book is just the same as practically everything else you do. You need to do your research to get it complete, to get it right, and and to be able to pass knowledge, good knowledge, to the masses, to continue on from generation to generation. And one of the ways, that I've shown you of doing research is taking the subject that you're going to be writing about, reaching out, in social media to online, different online groups that might exist of, the subject matter that you'll be writing about. You may be writing about animals, contact the different zoos around the world, like here in San Diego, the world famous San Diego Zoo, and the Wild Animals Park. I've had them featured in 2 of my books. Utilize your resources that are immediately around you when doing your research, as well as your online research. And then, for those old school people like me who, remember the dark ages of how we used to all do research before the internet, the library is still a wealth of knowledge to get, hard to find subjects that you could be possibly writing about, to get, good research material for. Another thing that in this project that of these 2 Corvette books that I'm showing y'all is, marketing. Not only when you're reaching out doing your research, but you're also marketing your book. You're first notifying others of your potential book that you're going to be writing and researching at the time. And if it's a subject that appeals to their heart, like the Corvette, people have already inquired, hey, I don't care if my car's been selected for the book or not. I'd like to know how to be able to get a copy, especially in my special circumstance, how I donate 100% of my book royalties to San Diego County schools, and nonprofit organizations in Southern California, local libraries as well. Um, so, people, that's another way that people are able to, help out future generation and also good organizations, as well as being able to enjoy, the purchase of an awesome book. And from the feedback and response that I'm getting for the Corvette book, hence the reason why I decided to do a companion book for it. That this is the first that I've actually publicly announced that I'll be doing 2 books. And again, every single person that submits and is included in either of those 2 books will get a free digital version of the book that I'll personally email to you. If you're, those were just mock cover-ups so far. I haven't really finalized how the cover design for either of those books are going to be, but if your car happens to be one of the ones selected for the cover, I'll direct message you personally, privately, and get your mailing address and send you a signed printed copy of the hardcover when it comes out. Like I said, hopefully the 1st of August for the history of Corvette book, and the first week of August, about a week later, for the Love Is My Corvette books. Other techniques, other than the marketing aspect and spin of this project, as well as the research spin on the subject, it's hard to come up with different ideas for different books. So as a great example, like I said at the beginning of this episode, last year we bought a Corvette, and it's, I've had many of really cool cars. I had a 1970 Chevy El Camino, a 1972 Chevy Nova race car, quarter mile race car. I had a 2002 Chevy RS Camaro that I tricked out. It was pumping out over 350 horsepower. That was a dangerous car to have in your 20s, living in Texas with those flat open roads. I've had a 2007 Mini Cooper S, which was, small, but just a quick, sporty little car. I've had some amazing. My wife, when we met, she had a Prowler, a Plymouth Prowler, which was an awesome to look at car, but not the most comfortable driving cars, of course. So I've had, I've been blessed to have a wealth of cars. I've always worked on cars since I was in high school. It's one of the things that I wish all the high schools still had, is auto shop, because it's a great learning technique for kids, and it helps them build a passion for something that they might want to take as a career. I actually out of high school looked into becoming an automotive technician, and only once I was waiting tables, and back in Texas, and a couple of executives told me to get into IT. That was the future. I put cars on a hold, but for my graduation gift, I bought myself a 2002 Chevy RS, the last of the true Camaros. Those new ones, they're just, I don't like them. Anyway, Corvette is an awesome car. If you own one, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever driven one, you know what I'm talking about. It's a passion, and finding a subject that you're passionate about makes it a lot easier. I mean, it doesn't make it work. And when it's truly something that you're passionate about and you love, I can't believe that, I look at my clock on my computer working, answering these emails that I'm constantly getting flooded with all these submissions. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. It's already a quarter after 4 in the morning. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to get some sleep. It's an amazing process. Find something that you're passionate about. You don't even have to know a great deal about this subject. If it's something that you find of interest, do your research, learn more, and the more you learn, the more you become passionate about what you're thinking of writing about. And it's a very fulfilling uh, process and journey to take. And anybody who's ever thought about writing a book or publishing a book, um, take that first step. Do your research on how you could publish your book. Um, across the bottom, hopefully Joe will throw up my email address for you. Again, it's authorbradleyzink@gmail.com. If you ever have any questions, feel free to email me. Right now, it may take a little, there we go, is the contact. It might take a little bit longer to get back to you, other than, I try to pride myself on a 24-hour response, but it's been crazy writing these 2 Corvette books. So it may take a little bit longer than a day or two to get back to you, but I do respond to every single person that emails me. Yeah, no, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Hopefully my answers aren't dumb in response. I always can find, an opportunity to answer your email, and help people that want to get into book publishing, want to write that first book, or you may be, already on, your second or third or fifth, or right now, like I said, I've published 52. So these will be 53 and 54 I'm working on in Tangent. Um, and, as I discussed last week's episode, I am at the same time writing a third one, which is a step-by-step guide of how to publish for free online, utilizing the KDP online program that I discussed with you last episode. So that way you can get a screenshot step-by-step from start to finish of how you can publish your book for free online and start collecting royalties on it as well. It's an amazing thing. Yes. Also, don't let me forget my amazing producer, San Diego Radio Joe. Great podcast producer. He's now got 3 different podcasts going, but he's a great multitasker, and he's amazing at what he does. So reach out to him if you have an idea for a podcast. He's a wealth of knowledge that he can answer your questions and help you see if this is something that you'd also like to do as well. It's just as fun, especially from episode to episode. As you progress, it gets more and more fun and a lot easier, a lot less stress, a lot more relaxed, as you can see, as compared to my first few. That's it can be a little unnerving. It truly can. It can be scary, but Radio Joe, he'll hold your hand step by step all the way through the process from start to finish, and he'll get you up and running, like he does for my great show Get Busy with Bradley Zink every Tuesday at 3:15 live. Anyhow, that's pretty much a wrap on today's episode of Get Busy with Bradley Zink. Again, I like to thank Ronnie Lee Group for being this week's sponsor. I greatly appreciate everything you do for us. Thank you, Radio Joe at Big D's Little Studio, for producing my podcast today. Thank you all for tuning in. I look forward to next week's podcast. I'm trying to work on getting a guest for next week. Either one of my musician or artist friends that I've featured in one of my many books. If not, I will continue on the journey of the Corvette books, and also possibly have an update and maybe a completed version of the step-by-step self-publishing online book that I'm working on as well. So until next week, you all take care, and I'll see you next time I Get Busy with Bradley Zink.